All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of A Desire to Inspire with Manny Patrick, yours truly. Today I have an exciting guest, Mr. Christopher Bache. I hope I said that right. Is that right?
That's correct.
Awesome, man. Hey, as I do always, I say thank you. And you're a very special guest to me because, as we just talked about, you had such a huge impact on the trajectory of my life several months ago after I made a decision to stop drinking. So for that and many other things that you've done for me, I want to say thank you. And I appreciate you as a human being and as a person from the bottom of my heart. And, you know, you are a man, dude. You're the man, actually. So thank you, buddy.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So I can introduce everybody to you. I am going to read off your bio so people can get an understanding of who you are. You are the founder and CEO for LMG, Limitless Management Group. You were born and raised in Staten Island, New York, and attended Morrisville College and went on to receive your bachelor's degree in advertising from Ithaca College. Your leadership began in college as student government president, student activities director, orientation leader, and a resident assistant. You then moved to Vegas, Las Vegas, in 1997 and helped multiple companies go from 0 to 20 million plus. As an entrepreneur, you started multiple businesses but found great success in two of them, one including Limitless Management Group and the other Logo Mix. LMG currently leads the hosting, promotions, and management teams for some of the Las Vegas's most notable nightlife venues and companies. And Logo Mix is an internet-based company whose technology allows business to create their brand in minutes. Logo Mix serves more than 1.5 million businesses per month. That's going to be an interesting one to talk about. In 150 countries and 12 languages. Man, Chris, that's a lot, man. Talk to me about who you are, where you come from, New York, what that was like growing up, and why you have a Boston hat on right now.
Yeah, so the internet company is based out of Boston. That's why I have a Boston hat on. My New York family doesn't necessarily appreciate the fact that I'm not a Yankee fan, but that's all right. They've dealt with it. I've been out for 20 years. You know, after college, I was living and working in New York, commuting about an hour and a half each way. And one night, just standing on the bus stop, I said to myself, you know, while I respect what my dad did for our family, I do not want to live to work. And a lot of people in New York City or any major city really across the country live to work. And commuting 3 hours, taking, you know, an hour to get ready in the morning. And by the time you wind down at home at night, you had to go to bed to get back up. I decided I didn't want to live that life. I was young and naive, though. I didn't know anything. 23, I decided I was going to LA. I was going to live near the beach. Little did I know that I got to LA and it was very similar to New York. Sat in a ton of traffic upon arriving there. Spent probably 4 days in New York and backtracked to Las Vegas, where I had an aunt and an uncle living, an elderly aunt and uncle living. That took me in for 2 weeks until I got my feet wet in the city. Vegas at that time was a very small city. It's been, I don't know if it still is, but it's always been one of the top cities for small businesses. A lot of tax and asset protection friendly laws here. Just kind of fell in love with the city, got to work with a small company and realized I needed to work for myself for the rest of my life. And that's how I got into business for myself. But you had talked about a couple of the successes that I've had, LMG and Logo Mix. I've had way more failures. And I really haven't had financial independence till I got until, probably my mid-30s. So, early 20s, all the way through my late 20s to my early 30s, I was living paycheck to paycheck just like anybody else, trying new businesses up to the middle of the night with friends, brainstorming new ideas, putting them out on the web the next day or putting them on radio the next day, see if people would bite on them. And, you throw enough stuff at the wall, something's going to eventually stick. And so that's how I got to the two successful businesses.
So what was the first business that you ever started?
I don't know the first business, but probably the one that I lost money on early on, where I really thought it was going to be something good, was a company that myself and my friend Hector formed called Water Seat Cushion. And it's exactly what the name of it is. A lot of my businesses, I name them for exactly what it is that we do. Water Seat Cushion. So we were brainstorming at night. We were trying to figure out, this is in the dawn of the internet age. We were trying to figure out what product could we put online. And the way we we kind of went backwards into the product. And this is a great way to start a business, is we thought about how most people spend their day. We were looking for a big target audience, a big market. So we were trying to figure out how most people spend their day, what they're doing. They're getting up, they're going in the shower. Can we come up with a shower related product? Can we do something that's better than they're currently doing in the shower? Can we make something better that's currently being made for the shower? Then they go in, they eat breakfast. Is there something that we can provide them, food or a way to prepare their breakfast that's better than what they're doing? Then they go to their office. Most people are sitting down in a cubicle all day, sitting on a chair. And that's where we decided, wait a second. Okay, they're sitting in a chair. Most people, 60% plus of Americans are experiencing back problems on a regular basis. And so with the chairs, we were like, how do we make the chairs more comfortable? What can we do better? Can we do something ergonomic? And we had no background in anything related to medicine or the back. But we did realize at the time that Hector was sleeping on a waterbed and he loved it. And we were like, hey, what if we can make a waterbed for chairs? And that's where the product developed from. We reached out to a couple of companies overseas to develop that product. We developed that product. We started selling that product within months. We sold hundreds in the first week. Hundreds in the second week, then tens in the third week, and then nothing in the fourth week. And it was my real first experience with learning how to truly manage a business, manage expenses, manage expectations going in. And that was probably my biggest failure that I put the most energy in. I've had a lot of other failures, but I learned from that one not to put a lot of energy, resources, time, and don't fall in love with the product or the service until it actually becomes successful.
How old were you when you started that first business?
25, 26.
Okay.
I mean, and at the time I had an advertising agency, which I still do, Marquee Advertising, where I provide consulting services to businesses, which is what I did in that entire time that I was trying to come up with my own products and services. I was always consulting for local businesses here, helping them with their sales and marketing strategy. So that was truly my first business, which is still in existence today. But I don't spend any time in my advertising agency.
Right. So listen, that we know that there's two parts, right? So there's one part of us that wants to be an entrepreneur, where we try things, we take risks. And then there's the other part where we want to find what we love doing. And do you think in this process of yours, where you tried multiple businesses and failed many times over, that you ended up where you're supposed to be today?
For me, success wasn't necessarily financial or even size of company. It was not having to work hard and live in the lifestyle that I wanted to. I really didn't want to live to work. I really wanted to find a balance in life. And all those years that I did try all those businesses and consult, I always worked from home. I always set my own schedule. I think I really just bought my first 2 suits recently, because one of the businesses I'm involved in, I have to sit in important meetings with guys who are in suits. But I really just wanted the independence and freedom to know that I can dictate my own life and still be able to pay my bills. Fortunately, though, absolutely, all of those experiences, successes, mostly the failures, though, have gotten me to where I am.
So what do you define success as now?
Success is not in my businesses. Success I find in my 19-year-old daughter, who she's not my biological daughter, but I dated her mom for 8 years, from the time she was 1 through 9. And when her mom and I broke up, I asked Mom if I could still be involved in Jayla's life. She said, as long as you're going to be around in it forever, and she moved in with me when she was 15 in high school. And we managed to pull through high school together. And then she went off to college in Northern California. She is definitely not just one of my big successes. I don't like to put the term success on my child, but she's definitely my most happiest, the happiest things that I think about in my life. And then, I'm the president of a nonprofit called Families for Effective Autism Treatment, where we service 6,000 families here in Las Vegas who have children on the autism spectrum. I've been the president as a volunteer of that organization for 2 years. I'm really proud of the work that we do and the families and the kids that we impact around this community. And then I'm also the camp director for the Torino Foundation, where we run 5 summer camp programs for special needs kids, 2 for kids with autism, 2 for kids with heart disease, and 1 for kids who come from lower income families that are trying to excel in life. And so I give 5 weeks in my summer to be in the camp director, singing and dancing with kids. And and I do the feet thing all year long. And then in the winters, I volunteer with Opportunity Village at their magical forest as the supervisor of the train attraction at the park. I really find my satisfaction, and I found myself in giving back to the community. But I do believe that my business has benefited from that for a variety of reasons. But I'm a firm believer in karma. And do good, get good, and that's not why I do good, but it's worked out in my favor. But by far, those are the 4 areas I get my satisfaction in, and then business would be 5th.
So it's safe to say that contribution is what you almost define success as.
You know, I mean, if you've ever sat in one of my meetings, you'll hear me always talk about how many hours there are in a week. There's 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, get 168 hours in a week. You're spending 40 working, you're spending 50 sleeping, so that's 90. What are you doing with the other hours? You know, what are you doing with the other 70 plus hours? Obviously, you're eating, you're showering, you should be working out. Health is the most important. If you don't have health, nothing else matters. You should be connecting with your family, talking to mom, talking to dad, talking to your brothers and sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, friends. Obviously, those personal relationships are really important. But there's still always 20, 30 hours. When you put it on a whiteboard and you map it out and you chalk it up, it's like, how do I spend those extra 20 or 30 hours? And I really think that that's what separates people in life is how you spend all of those hours in a week. And there's plenty of time to do good. There's plenty of time, even if it's just going to feed the homeless. Find your passion. There's so many people at need in this world. Find something that you could be passionate about and commit 5 hours of your week to it. You've got the time. Turn the TV off, right? Stop hanging out at the bar. Stop hanging out at the club. But you could still hang out at the bar, hang out at the club. Well, I still watch a lot of TV, hang out at the bar, hang out at the club. I travel a lot. And I still manage to find the time to give back. It's about being organized, managing your time properly, and really taking every minute of every day seriously, which is why this was very difficult for us to schedule, because I'm constantly packing as much in a day as I possibly can, including a lot of do nothing time where I'm not interested in working all day, or I'm not interested in talking about myself like this. And so you've got to really balance your time, and you got to find your spots, pick your spots.
Well, listen, man, trust me, people are going to appreciate what you're saying, because what you are saying is ideal, and people need to hear this type of information, which makes it more purposeful, right? I want to point out that, again, what you just said, I sat in on one of those meetings with you in November, almost a year ago. And the exact words that you said just about going through the time that you spend in a week, I actually broke it down into a day, and it's in my book. It's in my book. I may have messed up the numbers just a little bit, but I broke it down to a day. And when you said that, I went home that night and I thought about that, and I was thinking to myself, I am wasting so much time and I'm not doing anything to get me closer to where I want to be. And I think that strategy is powerful, because it can make a difference when people actually take a step out of the frame and they look at it and they say, oh my gosh, I'm wasting my life. So that's gold, man. I love that. Mm-hmm. What is the feeling that you get in doing all of this, like from the inside? I know it is your definition of success, and you talk about being there for others. How does it make you feel?
Yeah, when I drive away from these nonprofit events where we have either successfully raised money, or from the camps where I just spent a week singing and dancing with some special needs kids, it's emotional. I mean, it's tears in the eye, tears down the face. And I'm a tough guy from New York. So to watch me like that, unless you do those events with me, unless you've seen me in that capacity, you would never think that that's the same guy that's negotiating across the table from you. Although I do think I'm a kind business person too. I don't ever yell. I don't ever demean. I don't lead my team or managers that way. There's a different side of me that comes out in those nonprofits, in that nonprofit time, or just when I'm with my kid. Yeah, it's real emotion. But just to go backwards a little bit, you talk about how you heard the words that I said and it helped you get on the right path in life. There's millions of self-help books out there. There's millions of videos on the internet nowadays. There's tens of thousands of life coaches and motivational speakers and therapists. And subsequently, there's tens of millions of people who are reading those books, watching those videos, and going to those therapists and talking to those life coaches. And very few of them, a small percentage of them actually ever make that change. And so I appreciate the thanks that you give me, but you clearly wanted to make the change. It's like nobody quit smoking unless they wanted to quit smoking. Nobody wants to make the change in their life unless they decide they're going to trust me. Yes, you walked out of that meeting thinking, okay, this is a great step for me in the right direction. But there's 90% of the people that walk out of that meeting and go do the same shit over and over and over again and don't necessarily listen to what I say. Maybe that number's less. Maybe it's 70% walk out and don't necessarily care. And those are the same 70% that are reading books, watching videos, seeking out others that can help them, that it doesn't matter because they can't seem to grasp the concept of making the change in their head. And I don't know if it's biological, but I'm a firm believer that it's probably within your control. It's about changing the way you think and subsequently changing your actions every day based on those thoughts.
So what helped you become the man that you are with all of this information? Like how are you such a kind-hearted gentleman? Who do you attribute that love and that compassion to on the inside of you, man? Is it from your family? Is it from your parents? Did you learn that just through, trials and tribulations? What was it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. And I knew you were going to ask that question. I really don't know. I have a great mom and dad, very loving. I came from a great family. Dad worked his ass off to provide for us and make sure we all went to college. We were lower middle class, probably middle class, at some point in our lives. Growing up, I don't come from a wealthy background or anything like that. And my parents had to work hard, and my mom was at home with the 4 kids, so she can raise the kids themselves. And we gave up money for her to be able to do that. Definitely, I get some of my kindness through there. My dad and my mom are like the sweetest people you'll ever meet. I don't know. I really think it's more of an awareness thing. You become aware of what's going on in the real world. And if you can really live your life and not give back when you see so much need out there, I don't know. It seems a little cold to me, not to insult people that don't give back. And giving back could be just being a great father and spending time with your children, or being a great husband, or being a great son. You don't have to necessarily find a charity, but there's too much pain in the world to add to it. You would think that you would want to help with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that keep it simple, silly, right? The KISS method, random acts of kindness. You could walk around, open the door for somebody, tell somebody that they look pretty today, smile, some basics, man, that can really, really change the course of your day. And you're right. It's the little things that matter. So what
little things, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, man. Go for it.
You're right. It is the little things. And I always tell people, just do the little things. You may not want to give 5 days to a summer camp program like I'm doing, or you may not want to stand out in the cold and run a train for kids to raise money for special needs adults. But, when you're out and about and you see a man or woman who's wearing a veteran's hat, a Korean War hat or a Vietnam hat, go up and shake their hand, tell them thank you for your service. Whether you agree with the war or not, those people had no choice, where they were drafted back then and they fought for your country. Just go give them a thank you. Just go say thank you. Trust me, it's going to make them feel amazing because I talk to a lot of them after I do that, but it'll make you feel really good. Yeah. Or when you're going in and out of a store and you see the homeless guy, a lot of people have their own personal feelings about that. Maybe he deserved to be there. He did it to himself. He's a drunk. He's an alcoholic. All those things to the side. I don't ever get involved in the cause. I just try to help what the result is. And so I don't really ever give them money unless a unique situation, but I don't ever come out of that store without a sandwich to give them, because even if they are responsible for where they are, they're still probably hungry and they're still going to need to eat. And whether you believe in a higher power or not, whether you believe that you're going to get judged or not, it doesn't even matter. You'll sleep better that night knowing that you contributed to something or someone throughout the course of the day. It could be something that small and that silly that can make you and that person feel better, make the world a better place. It sounds so corny, but life is corny, and you can still be cool. I always tell the people who volunteer with me, I say, hey, we're going to spend 5 days at camp together. And for a lot of the guys out there, you're going to think a lot of the stuff we're doing is corny. It is corny, but I'm the coolest guy in this room right now, and I'm corny. So if I'm willing to be corny, then you could be corny for these 5 days for these kids.
Absolutely, man. No, you're absolutely right. Listen, I think it gets addicting. When you do it enough, you get the feeling, and it's like an adrenaline that pumps through your body, and you want to do more. And I think over time, you grow into this newer and bigger person. And that's when you start to investigate new opportunities and contribution, right? So then you can go and find what charity you want to commit your time to, because at first it's a scary idea. And so if you start small, like anything in life, you gradually grow up into this better human being, and you see that everybody around you benefits as a result of it. Yeah, man, trust me, I understand what you're saying there. And I think that we had trouble connecting because you were at camp for 5 weeks, here recently, and you just got back. So I appreciate all that you do for everybody, and I'm sure that they do, man. I can see your generosity through your eyes, man. You're truly a rock star, man. So appreciate you for all that.
I appreciate that. It's a struggle though too. Don't think, some people are like, he's that Tony Robbins kind of guy. It's work. I don't wake up like this, right? I try to find something motivational or inspirational every single day to watch, whether it's a 5-minute video on YouTube, a TED Talk video, a song that puts me in a spot that takes me back to a point in my life that made me feel good. But it's hard to wake up motivated and inspired every single day. And it's hard to keep that education, keep moving forward. And I spend more time than anybody watching these educational videos, reading these books. And I've got a lot more knowledge than most because you have to. I need that daily motivation. If I need it, then the people who are listening definitely need it for sure. Everybody needs it to keep growing and to keep moving forward. There's no magic sauce here. There's no, I drink something in the morning and I'm this guy. I don't want to get out of bed just like that next guy. I want to watch TV all day and do nothing, right? And then go to the bar with my friends at night. But you've got to find something in your life that can catapult you into the right area.
Yeah, I love this because what you just said is very interesting to me. And when you suggested to go and watch a TED Talk, I looked back and I watched you, and I'm like, man, this guy has something that I want at this time when we're going through this. I was going through this process in November, almost a year ago. And you suggested that. You're like, I get up and I watch a TED Talk. And guess what I did that night? I came home and I watched a TED Talk. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, that's some good information. I'm going to watch another one. I watched 5 consecutively. And I had no idea what it was, and then I got addicted to it. And I started being consumed with TED Talks. And then what happened was I watched one after the next. And then on YouTube, there was these other suggestions that started to pop up. And I was so curious that I started watching these other things. And then I started to evolve. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm carving out a new process to my life. But motivation, I learned something very interesting about it. Listen, it's easy for us to all get hyped up and pumped and then it fades away because it's an intellect idea. It's only up here and then it's gone. So how do we keep motivation? And this is something that I tell my friends and the people that I work with all the time. You've got to take action, because when you do it, then it comes from within, and you've got to continue to take action, because that's how motivation is generated, right? Because when you get the feeling, you can do it. Oh man, you want to do it some more. You keep hammering away at it. And so motivation, now that we've talked about it, what is motivating you to be the man that you are?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people will say, when they hear people like you speak or they hear people like me speak, they always say, I don't have the time. And we ran through the time. I'll answer the question, but just to make sure that people understand, jam it in your life. When you're driving to work, listen to something on the radio that is motivational or inspirational or educational. When you're getting ready in the morning, flip the iPod on or put a YouTube video on your phone. Jam it into an activity you're already doing. You don't need to carve out time to listen to a TED Talk or to listen to Tony Robbins or to listen to Joel Osteen or any of those people. You don't need to do that. You can jam it into a schedule that you're currently already keeping and find that time. I don't know what is motivating me per se. I really don't know. I've never really questioned it before. But everything I do, I feel like it rewards me. So it's somewhat selfish, to be honest, being there for your child, and any good parent will tell you, being there for your child is the most rewarding thing that there is to do, period. And so it's a little bit selfish. When I am at these summer camp programs and you're there on the last day and there's 30 kids with autism lining up to give me a hug, and half of them are in tears because it was the best 5 days that they've spent all year. I mean, that's pretty rewarding, and that's where the motivation comes in for me.
I love it, man. What would you say is your greatest gift or your greatest strength, Ms. Chris?
I don't like to use the word sales, but I'm a very influential person. I'm a good salesperson. I mean, everything in life is sales. Yeah. Even selling yourself to be motivated or educated or inspired. You've got to be convincing. You've got to have that edge where you can get people to do what you want them to do. Professionally, that's definitely I'm a great salesperson. Whether we're selling tables and chairs, or I'm selling my managers to sell their employees to push a little bit harder when they're out in the field. That professionally is probably my greatest asset. And it carries over into my personal life. When I'm standing on the stage at camp in front of 100 volunteers and 100 kids, I am selling them to get involved and to let themselves go and to step outside of their comfort zone and try new things and sing like nobody's listening and dance like nobody's watching. And it all comes back to me trying to convince them to do things that they're not necessarily comfortable with doing on their own. And then, like a good salesperson, going back through and thanking them for doing that and patting them on the back and finding the bright spots, even when there's not a lot of bright spots there. Selling. If you're going to start doing anything in life to become successful, read a bunch of good sales books, or watch good sales movies, or watch shows that are based on sales. There's a lot of great resources out there for you to get that information, and it translates over into everything, including your personal life.
Did you get a formal education in sales, or was this school of the streets?
I have my degree in television, radio, advertising.
Okay.
And I thank Ithaca College because they definitely gave me an opportunity with a partial scholarship to go there. I'm not a big academics. I don't feel like you need to require academics to be successful in life. School of streets. I mean, I grew up across a park in New York, in Staten Island, and there were hundreds of people that were hanging out there every day. You either got along or you didn't get along with everybody. If you didn't get along, you wound up in fights. And I wound up in my fair share of fights. But it's like selling. Now I haven't been in a fight in 20 years because I talk my way out of difficult situations. Even if the other person is really looking for one, I will do everything in my power to talk that person into something other than what they want. And that I guess that's from my education of growing up in New York and growing up outdoors and growing up around a very diverse group of people, old and young. I don't credit it to college, really. But I do have some things I do credit to my academic life, but that is not one of them.
Sure. So if you're so good at sales, how do you influence people to do what you want them to do? If somebody's listening to us right now and they're like, oh man, what is it what's that secret sauce? How do you do it? Like, talk to me a little bit about your strategy and how you get people to take action.
Well, a lot don't, right? I mean, a lot of the people I talk to don't take action. They yes me to death and then they go on and do whatever they were going to do. I always end all of my meetings with the same saying, or at some point towards the end of the meeting, I'll say, I just gave you guys a bunch of great resources on how you could spend your day to be successful, and what you can do and how you can line up the times each and every day. And I've given you a bunch of avenues that you can explore in those specific times. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. It's your life. Your actions, even as my employee, are not going to dramatically impact me financially, right? They're only going to do your paycheck is your paycheck. You are responsible for where you are in life. So while I want you to work hard and I will give you every tool and every resource and give you every opportunity to be successful and get to where you want to get professionally, whether it's money or happiness or job title, at the end of the day, if you don't want to do it, it's your fault. And life is your responsibility. And that's, I really challenge people to challenge themselves. And maybe that's how I get them to do it. Because I don't ask them to do it for me or for the company. I tell them that they're doing it for themselves and their family, even if they have one now or they're ones in the future. I ask them if they want to work. Do you want to work till you're 70? You might. Do you want to have to work till you're 70? Wouldn't you like to have the option, though? Wouldn't you like to, at 50, be able to make your own decisions, or at 40, live the life how you want to live, right? Well, if you don't make those daily changes today, it doesn't magically happen. I know a lot of very successful people, and they all have the same things in common. They're disciplined, right? It comes down to discipline. You have to wake up at a reasonable hour. You have to get your day started in the right direction, right? Whether it's working out or some type of education, and you've got to have a plan for that day. If you don't have a to-do list, I always show them my to-do list, which is you know, it's not that complex, but at the same time, it's organized. You've got to be organized. You've got to manage your time. You've got to write your projects down. You've got to know what you're going to attack next. If you don't, you're not going to get there. There's a lot of people competing for the same things that you're competing for, and know that they're doing everything that they can to get there. So you've got to be better than them.
Man, I love it, man. You're firing me up, dude. And this is the exact same way that I felt 10 months ago, man. Oh, it's golly. I love it. Okay, so we're talking.
So I say the same things over and over. You've heard all this before because I'm very repetitive.
Fudge, I love it.
But repetition is the key to success in anything. Just because you've read one sales book, I talk to people, I'm like, so what education have you read this week? They're like, I read this book on you know, how to be a better leader. And I'm like, great, what are you doing this week? Well, no, I just read that book. No. Like, you have to keep going to the well. You have to. You need that. It's like water. You need it every single day to survive. And even if you think you've got it or it's the same stuff over and over again, your mind needs it because you have to hear it. That's what's going to motivate you to want more each and every day.
Yeah, so when I left that meeting, I keep referencing this because, dude, I want people to understand how much of an impact that this has had on my life. What you're saying, it literally transformed my life, dude. But I had read, I think, 8 books in my entire life, fully, wholly. I mean, that was just going through it and flipping page to page. I didn't remember any of the information that I read. And then since then in November, I've read 16 whole books. And majority of them, you know, up front in like 3-4 months because I was trying to get new information. And right now I'm reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And it's a great book. So I thought that was an interesting point about continuing to go to the well because you have to, because there's always something to learn, man. It's like if you think about what's going on around us, you don't know what the carpet was made of. And if you're curious, you might want to go figure out what it is or what it is that holds the walls up in your house. I mean, there's just so much information, right? So I think that's amazing, man. I love it. So let's talk about discipline. If somebody is having trouble building more discipline into their life, where can they start and how do they start to incorporate that? How can they become a more disciplined person?
You know, it comes, and I am not perfect. So the reason I was hesitant about doing this with you and why I don't do this often is because the last thing I want anybody to hear me talk and think, oh, this guy thinks he's got it all figured out. He's got it all perfect. I could be in better shape. I could be doing things better in my life. I could be doing better things with my family. I could be working a little harder or smarter in certain areas. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I should listen to some of my advice. Sometimes I need to go backwards. The reason why I do like doing these things is because it reminds me, oh, you need to probably do this again. And so the one thing that you can do to have that discipline is for a week, every 15 minutes, set your phone alarm to go off and write down how you've spent the last 15 minutes and then analyze it. And then once you have a week's worth of how you've spent your life, then you can see what part of your life is really disciplined and what part of it is off the cuff. And you're going to find that there's a ton amount of time that is just off the cuff. And it really just comes down to time. Once you can build that clock of how you should spend each and every day, each and every hour, each and every minute of your life, then it's just about following it. And you're either the type of person that's going to follow it or not going to follow it. You cannot teach discipline, but what you can do is get enough tools and resources together to allow yourself to be disciplined and know what that means to be disciplined. So when you do this exercise, if you find that I'm only committing 90 minutes a week to my health, well, it's very obvious we need to commit 4 hours a week to our health. You either do it or you don't do it. There's no way to teach somebody how to do it. But once you've got the facts and the data, then you can make smart decisions about your life.
I love what you just said. I think I just found the title for the show. You either do it or you don't do it.
Yes.
Boom. So at this point, I wanted to ask you as well, what is one of the biggest challenges that you've had in the past and how did you overcome it?
One of the biggest challenges I've had in the past, professionally or personally?
Let's do both.
Professionally, the challenge, not really anymore, although still, is risk. I am so risk averse to the point where it has cost me a lot of money to be risk averse. And I have friends who yell at me about it. I don't know why I'm very risk averse. I don't know if it's because I came from humble background where I know what it's like to live without money, and I never want to get there. Even if it means giving up future money, I'm not so sure I want to risk the money I have. Like, I want to keep a certain amount of money safe and protected because, I've been as Leo DiCaprio says in The Wolf of Wall Street, I've been a rich man, I've been a poor man, and I choose rich every single time. And not that I'm rich to the level that a lot of people would consider rich. I don't want to give up my security. I don't want to ever have to wake up at 7 o'clock and put a suit on and go to work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 and sit in front of it. I never want to go back. And I haven't worked for anybody else in 17 years. I'm 42 now. I don't ever want to go back there. And so I think maybe that's probably why I'm a little risk averse. But now I'm able to be a little bit more risky, if you will, because I've got some more stable things in my life that are more ongoing and that I'm confident in. In my personal life, what's the one thing that I have to overcome? I don't know. I really was blessed with such a great family. If you've got a good family behind you, it makes things a lot easier in life from a lot of different standpoints. For those people that don't, you definitely have a harder road. Make no mistake about it. The support that you get from your family definitely makes things a lot easier. I left New York for all the right reasons, but all the wrong reasons. I was on my way downhill in New York. I didn't do my best to stay out of trouble, to stay out of conflicts. I don't really want to get into a lot of the stories, but, I've been pulled through my car window and laid out on streets a couple of times in my life because I didn't have any humility in my life. I knew everything, and I was going to tell people exactly what it was. Humility is something that I have a great amount of now. I hope people can hear that in the way I speak, but I never did in the past, and it caused a lot of trouble because a lot of people are willing to challenge you on a lot of different things. And so I definitely overcame a lot in New York, and that's the primary reason, outside of the fact that I didn't want to live and work in Manhattan. That was the primary reason why I left New York.
I want to go back to something that you talked about just a few seconds ago with you don't like to do these because, sometimes you think you're not perfect and all these other reasons. But I think in your admittance of not being perfect and what you just said in humility and being vulnerable and putting that out into the universe, that helps people understand you better and respect you better and gravitate to you, which makes you that much more respected as a businessman, as probably a father, as a camp director and everything. So, I want to, tell you that what you're saying is phenomenal. And we need voices like yours more often. So I kind of want to pull you out of that little shell if there's an opportunity for it, because what you have to say is meaningful and people can really learn from it, I think. And I'm a living case of it. And I just want to encourage you to keep moving in that direction because you've got some good stuff, man. So kudos to you for talking about that. I know some people have a hard time. Ego gets in the way, right? And it's very difficult because then it's your image that's at stake. And that's the last thing that you want to lose, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And, you look right now, we're in election season and we're not going to get political. But whether you agree or disagree with Donald Trump's political stance, it's hard to agree with the way he carries himself. He's just so full of himself and he's never wrong about anything. And Hillary's not a lot better. And I think that's why their likability ratings or their dislikability ratings are over 60% right now, because there is not enough humility in politics. I think the big problem with politics is that the really smart people, the ones who do have it figured out, want nothing to do with politics. They learn to stay out of that type of life for a lot of different reasons. And as far as stepping out of my shell, I impact, the hundreds of volunteers that come and do these camp programs with me would tell you, we use camp names at camp. So my camp name is Brooklyn. We don't go by real names. We like to leave our real identity down the mountain. We like people to just start fresh and not have to think about everything that's going on in their regular life and having a different name. So we've got camp names from Spidey to Google to Batman to Crash and Burn to Dr. Twerk, and I'm Brooklyn. But they would tell you that Brooklyn's very inspirational in camp, and all the times that he's talking to us and leading us, that he's trying to get us to be better people, and trying to get us to do more in the community. And I like to think that the people that work for me feel the same way about me in a professional sense. I'm trying to push them to do more, get more out of their jobs, out of their careers, even if that means leaving me and not working for me. So if you're in one of my circles, you get a lot of me. Some might say too much of me. Some of my employees might say too much of me. But as far as going beyond that, yeah, the interest level isn't there for me. It's just not there for me.
Man, so let me ask you this question. You are in the city of Las Vegas now, and you have a nightlife company. So how do you manage to do all these great things and avoid the temptation that Las Vegas is throwing at you every minute of every day?
Oh, I mean, I was a total delinquent in my 20s when I've lived here for long enough, right? It just gets old fast. There's no secret sauce. I still go out all the time. I'm not in the clubs, even the ones that I manage, really ever, because it's like working there. But I still like to go to the bars. You find a balance. Mm-hmm. I also learned that if you abuse anything in life, at some point you're going to have to stop doing it. Well, I don't want to have to stop having a couple of glasses of wine or a couple of drinks. I don't want to have to stop that. And the only way I'm not going to have to stop that, like cold, and never do it again, is to not abuse it. And living in moderation in a city like Las Vegas is key to success. And I have a lot of friends that are recovering alcoholics because they abused it, and now they can't even have one drink. And they would say it's an addiction. And I don't know enough about it, but I believe them. But I do believe it's self-control plays a big role in it as well. I can go out and drink all day, every day if I wanted to. I enjoy drinking that much. It's fun. There's tons of parties going on right now as we're doing this. I could be at Harrah's outside bar listening to live music, hanging out with people from all over the world. But you've got to make good decisions in life, because I want to be able to go out maybe later or tomorrow. I can't go out every minute of every day. So moderation is how you live in Las Vegas and find balance. But I also did it for 10 years. I was in the clubs. I was the guy at the tables, 3 nights a week with my friends. And so having that experience too, you never have to look back and say, wow, I wonder what that would be like, And so you definitely want to experience certain things in life, and then you want to find a balance in them.
What kind of a routine do you have when you get up and get going in the day that somebody could pick up on and maybe incorporate into their life?
Yeah, my routine now is not a good one if you're trying to get ahead. If you're trying to get ahead professionally, because I put a lot of time into where I am professionally. I am not a workhorse. I do not work 60 hours, 70-hour weeks. I don't slave in front of my computer drinking coffee all night. I used to be that guy. I don't have to be that guy anymore. I work between 25 and 40 hours a week, depending on the week. I'm only in the office for 4 hours on Monday. And then I'll conduct meetings either online or via telephone. I have a lot of free time during the day, but I try to do some type of physical activity for 30 to 60 minutes a day. I hate going to the gym. It's like my least favorite thing to do. But I try to find 30 to 60 minutes every day of some type of physical activity to get my heart going and heart racing. I am a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. And so I try to consume as many meals as I can that I know are going to make me feel better, as opposed to ones that are going to drag me down, really. And so I really try to balance I'm hardly on a diet. It's hard to be on a diet as a vegetarian. You're forced to eat a lot of carbs. But I'm pretty against animal cruelty as well, which I never talk about because it alienates a ton of people. I have a good schedule that I keep. I make sure that I look at my to-do list and I cross off the most important things on that list for that day, whether they're work or personal. And that includes calling mom and calling dad. And you have to wake up with a plan. So I don't spend every day exactly the same, but I do spend every day organized and on time for everything that I'm doing.
And what do you do today to continue to educate yourself?
Last night I watched The Prophet because I love Marcus Lemonis. I think he's one to learn from. And I love watching TV, and it's a great balance of education and entertainment at the same time. Today, what have I done educationally? I'm actually reading a book right now over there called The Secrets of Power Negotiating. And I've probably read 5 pages out of it today. I haven't done much else education-wise, but I have had some important phone calls this morning, some important business development phone calls this morning, drinking lots of water today, just trying to feel good.
That's awesome. So, coming from a guy who just said that he feels he's really good in sales and in influencing people, it sounds like you're still trying to get better, right? Because reading a book on negotiating, it's like, hey man, I want to keep going because, the next project or the next deal could be on the hook and I want it.
Yeah, of course. And plus you forget things too. So they're good reminders, that when you're buying something of significance and somebody tells you the price, the best response is, ooh, that's really expensive. Even if you don't think it's really expensive, right? So there are little things that you forget along the way. When I took my daughter car shopping for the first time and the car salesman showed us the car that she eventually bought, he showed it to her and she was like, oh my God, Dad, I love it. And I'm thinking, don't say that. No, don't say that. Be like, it's okay. I really like the one at the other lot a little bit better, right? And so I forget those things. Everybody forgets those things. They're great reminders. And there's people out there that know a lot more than I know. And if I can read a book and even just get 3 or 4 new things out of there, they're going to help me on my next telephone call, or help me in my next interaction with a family member where there's a challenge going on. Sales isn't always about business, but it's about using it to keep relationships successful and alive. And I'm very close with my siblings and my parents not because I'm selling them, but because I'm good at understanding people, and so are they, and it really helps the relationship last.
I love it, man. How do you become a good guy at handling people?
How do you become a good guy at handling people?
Or dealing with people, for that matter? Like, how do you if you're an introvert and you're having trouble reaching out or having a conversation and you're just uncomfortable in social situations, what can you kind of do to pop out of that wall?
Practice. There's no magic sauce. If you're an introvert and you're having trouble talking to people, I would go into a supermarket with you and I would make you talk to 10 people. Mm-hmm. There's no better way to stop being an introvert. If you're a competitive person who likes to win, then think of every interaction or every conversation you have with somebody as a win or lose situation, that you want to win it. You want them to thinking you're smart, you're likable, and they want more to do with you, either personally or professionally. If you're not a competitive person and that win strategy doesn't work for you, find a strategy that does work for you. And before you start any conversation out there, think about it and think about how you're going into it. But also think about the challenges that person might be going through in their life, and be empathetic to their situation, and realize that the lady at Walmart who isn't treating you right at the cash register probably has a lot more challenges than just you at that cash register. You can either ruin her day or you can help her day. And so be nice. You'll feel better. She'll feel better. You'll live longer. Stress is a killer. Don't stress yourself out. Don't stress other people out.
It's hard for a lot of people to think about stress and how to reduce it when we live in a world where we're on information overload, right? I mean, there's so much going on. So you hear a lot of people nowadays. I mean, everything I tell you has been said or written by somebody else, by the way. None of these, or few of these, are original thoughts. But don't go to bed with your laptop on your lap. Don't go to bed with your cell phone near your bed. Don't be working. Prepare for bed. I watched a video the other day about preparing to go to bed at night, to relax the mind. Don't go from work to bed. Don't fall asleep while you're working. Prepare the mind and the body for it. Stop working an hour before you go to bed, right? Change your thought process. Get rid of the technology and the electronics. Also, people sleep better when it's completely dark. So if you've got an alarm clock that's flashing on you, or you've got a cell phone that's beeping because you got a message, or you've got a razor that you're charging that's beeping blue in the bathroom, close it out, right? Shut down. And if you can't do all those things because you're in an environment that doesn't allow you, wear a blindfold when you sleep, right? So there are ways to reduce stress. It's not magic. Go online and type in how to reduce stress, and you're going to find a ton of information on how to reduce stress in your life. And you either do it or you don't do it. You either reduce your stress or stay stressed out. It's your choice at the end of the day. I love it. So for you, it's so simple. It's here's the information. You can access it, and it's your responsibility to do it. And that's it. If you do it, you get the results that you want.
Yep. And yeah. And the hard part for most people is even being willing and open enough and humble enough to access the information, because they already know everything. There's nothing that they're going to learn by watching something or reading something. They already know everything. And I always remind them that the smartest people in the world, the most successful people that I know, are open to learning new things each and every day. They're the ones in business support groups, or they're the ones watching the videos. It's exactly the opposite of what you would think. You would think that those people in those positions, they've got it all already, they don't need anything. No, it's the people that usually are not where they want to be in life that don't take the steps necessary to get there.
Right. And I think a lot of that has to do with, so we go to school, right? High school, graduate. Most of us go to college, get a degree. Okay, then we're done. And then we go to the real world, which is our professional life, where we have a business. And at that point, in most cases, you just start working. You're working and you're not getting any additional information. And I think it's in our mid-20s is when the education timeline closes down. And so at that point, like you just said, we know everything, right? There's no more room for improvement. So why would we want to get better and learn something else that can help us improve our intelligence in some capacity? I love it, dude. I think you're absolutely right with that, man. And I feel like you and I should hang out a lot more. I can learn so much from you, man.
Vice versa too. Watching your change and your metamorphosis over the last year is wild. It still boggles my mind kind of how far you've come, even just in the way you look. You're clearly a lot healthier. You're clearly living a better lifestyle for yourself. You found that balance. It works both ways, and you can be a great inspiration, not to me, but other people on our staff. And clearly you're trying to inspire and motivate others out there. So it's good to see. It's very good to see. It's very rewarding to hear. Yep.
Thank you, man. Let me ask you something about business. If there's somebody out there that's kind of stuck with the idea of wanting to start one, or maybe they've started one and they're having some trouble getting over some of the humps, what piece of advice do you have for them as far as like continuing to fight the good fight and moving forward? Because it's hard. It's hard sometimes.
Well, first off, I don't think life is about necessarily, if you're not entrepreneurial, then all the stuff that we're talking about being motivated and time management, inspiring, in that 40-hour work week that you're working for somebody else, you should at least be able to achieve as much as possible inside that 40 hours working for somebody. Some people don't. Some people want to just go to work, come home, not have the stress of running their own business and spend time with their family. That's great. All I would say to you in that situation is in those 40 hours, they'll maximize it with the same tools that I would give you on being a successful entrepreneur. Time management, education, motivation, start your day inspired, motivated. And when you get to that, when you get to the office at 8:01, kill it. Make every minute of every day productive. Don't stand by the cooler for 20 minutes. Don't take extra lunch. Don't talk to the receptionist for extra time. But as far as being an entrepreneur and there's some great books out there on how to start businesses with little or no money. People always think you need lots of money to start a business. I've never put more than $1,000 into any of my businesses, none of them. And Logo Mix is a large company in 150 countries. We transact in 10 languages and 20 currencies. We have now over 2 million people designing logos and business cards on our website. We started that business for less than $1,000. You do not need a lot of money to start a business. What you do need, though, is a good idea that you can roll out for little or no money. There's a great book I read not too long ago, 1,000 Businesses You Can Start for Under $100, right? The thing is, you have to be willing to sell. You've got to be willing to pick up the phone. I got a friend who wanted to start a consulting business in marketing. He's done marketing for me in the past, and I'm advising him. And he emailed me the other day all these different things he needs to get done in his business. And I called him and I said, would you throw all that out? What you need to do is you need to make 25 phone calls on Monday and read this script that I'm going to give you to try and set meetings with these people. Make 25 phone calls and you will get 5 meetings if you say exactly what I'm telling you to say right now. Don't worry about anything else. He was like, what question should I ask him when I get your goal, one step at a time. Your goal is to get those meetings. Then your next goal is to figure out what you're going to say at those meetings and how we're going to bring this guy on as a client. But step by step, keep it simple. Don't make it complex. Don't incorporate. Don't worry about getting your business license yet. See if the business even has legs first before you invest any real time or money in it. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, that means is picking up the phone or sending out 100 emails, personalized emails, and seeing if there's even an interest in your product.
Right. And I think there's a big misunderstanding with what starting a business means, right? Because like you just said, don't worry about getting a license, because I think a lot of people, they file for the paperwork and then they get a license and they're, oh my God, I have a business. And then they just hope that everything starts to happen for them. And then there's step two, right? Where it's not just that, then it's a product, right? So some people sell products, and you see this a lot on the Shark Tank or the Profit, maybe, where people have, it's a little bit different on the Profit, but Shark Tank, people have products and they're like, well, how are you going to make this a business? So there's a lot to it, but it's a matter of doing the work. Man, we keep coming back to the same principle, right? Doing the work, because listen, you might not have success the first month or 2 or 3, maybe even 6. But I tell you what, if you want something bad enough and you believe in it, like you said, if it has legs, I mean, gosh darn, just do it, man. Keep plunking away. I've had some people on this show that talk to me about doing their business for 16 years and finally it worked. I mean, you'll hear that type of story from plenty of people, and you've just got to be resilient, man. You've got to have your motivation and that desire so strong that it keeps you moving forward against all odds.
And yes, 100%. It is about just doing it. But, experience and knowledge definitely plays a role. For example, when that water seat cushion business, we were like sourcing from Taiwan. It took like 3 months to get the product. We were so worried about getting the lowest price point, when at the end of the day, none of that really mattered. I should have went down the block and, asked my aunt to sew these things together for me and paid a little bit of extra to do it, just to see if the product actually worked. And, we incorporated, got the business license and spent money doing all of those different things. And at the end of the day, I could have really just simplified what I did. So a lot of it does definitely come from experience. If you don't have that experience, read about other people who do have that experience and use their experience to help, you go forward in the product or the service that you're trying to market out there. A lot of the times, though, if you can just keep that concept simple, if you're starting with very little, then make sure that the business that you're starting doesn't have a lot of moving parts to it. Right. It doesn't require a lot. Otherwise, you're going to be doomed for failure. Try to keep the entire concept simple.
Success leaves clues, my friend. Mm-hmm. Pick them up and use them.
That's right. That's right.
All right, dude. So I'm going to ask you this one last question before we go into our 3 secret questions. But I always ask it, and it is, what is your one message of inspiration for our listeners to help them tap into that potential and really unleash that beast down within?
It's
Take your time, my friend. There's no pressure. Not at all. And I mean that.
What advice would I give somebody to find the success within themselves?
What's your one message, man? What's that like? Hey, if I had one thing I could tell you about life and business to keep going, there's so many, and that's the thing. I like to really get people to figure out what that one is. You could probably name 150.
It would be open. It would to just be open. Be open to all of the different things that we've talked about: education, motivation. If you're not open to those 2 things, if you watch motivational videos and you're like, yeah, it doesn't really do it for me, that's fine. If you you find something that motivates you, find something where you can get that education, and just stay open in life to everything. Stay open to people, stay open to ideas. And I also, whether you believe in karma or not, be a good person and good things will happen. Bad things happen to good people, don't get me wrong. Steve Jobs was not a great person, and he built one of the biggest companies ever. But he also died by the time he was 60 years old. I think he was in his 50s. Not to say that that's why, but be happy, be open, be kind. That would be my advice.
I love it. Like, people need to create their own paths, right? I love something that I heard in all of my studies that says the same walls that you have up to keep out the bad are the same walls that keep out the good, right? And I think that has a lot to do with what you just said in being open. Do it and figure out what your path is, learn who you are, and just keep moving forward, man. That's the way life should be lived. And I really believe that everybody is capable of being amazing and powerful and doing everything that they've ever wanted. And with a lot of the stuff that you just said, because you've influenced me and affected my life, I know from my heart that people can take what you just said and apply it to start to make some changes in their life. So, man, listen, thank you again. Your message was amazing. And one of the benefits of the show is I get to go and re-listen to these things and have fun with them. And start to apply more some things that you probably didn't know before, and continuously learn. So, dude, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to everything that you're going to be doing in the future. And I can't wait till we get together next time.
You're welcome, Manny. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, buddy. All right, man. I'm back with the 3 secret questions for Mr. Chris. All right, dude. First question. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book. I can't admit it, I don't think. Because it really turns so many people off, and it's really not really who I am. But a book that really influenced me that I continue to go back to is The Secret. And I realize it is a book that a lot of people don't connect with, and that's fine. But the message I like in it is that you are what you think, is that you are, the thoughts that go through your head are probably the ones that are going to come out of your mouth and go into your actions. And I really believe that's really relevant in life. If you constantly think that you're going to be single and you're not going to find that perfect woman, or you constantly think that you're not going to be successful in business, there is probably a good chance that you're not. Think positive. Positive thoughts breed positive results.
That strikes me that you say that's kind of not the place that you come from. I think that's where everybody starts, though, right? I feel like the law of attraction, The Secret, is the starting point, so you can really take control of your mind. And then from there, you start to figure out what's next, right? So then the action plans, the step-by-steps, and things like that.
Yeah, it's not that it's a surprise that that's my favorite book. I just don't like to really tell people that, because so many people are disenfranchised by that type of teaching, the Tony Robbins type of, thought process, that whole positive thinking thing. A lot of people are really turned off by it. And so I'm cautious of that, in that if you want people to follow you, you don't want to alienate anybody. And so, at least for my staff or the volunteers that I work with, I want them to believe in me and everything I say. And so I try to keep I try to keep controversial things out of conversations, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, or whether it's things like The Secret, which is a little controversial for some people.
Right. No, I see what you mean. I think, taking control of your thoughts is probably the most important thing you can do. It's the foundation of it all before anything, right? Because if you can't believe that you can do it, then trust me, you're not going to do it. I'll tell you that much.
That's right.
Excellent, man. Excellent. So next one, why do you do the things that you do? Like what is the drive in there? Why? What is your why?
I've read a bunch of different things that when they talk to people who have lived long lives, and they always ask them, what is it that they regret in their lives, and what would they do differently? They all talk about just living a more full life. And so my drive is that one day I'm going to look back and feel good about the life I live. And that's not easy to do. And that means I can't be working 60 hours a week and alienating my family and my children or my health or the community. It means I've got to be as much as I can to all of those different things. I don't want any regrets. When I'm laying down and you come back and interview me on your successful nationally syndicated radio show and ask me what regrets or what would I do different, I want to be able to say nothing.
Right. I get it. So are you totally fulfilled and balanced right now? Like where you are today?
Am I totally fulfilled and balanced? That
was a follow-up. That's I still have one more actually. That was an add-on to the question that I just asked you. So I wanted to kind of probe that one a little bit more.
I'm not totally fulfilled. Okay. I'd like to find a little bit more professional success. I feel like I could be a much greater impact on my family and the community if I can do that. But I'm definitely well on my way. I'm not unfulfilled. I'm very happy with the life I'm living right now. I don't desire for anything else materialistic wise. I'd like to get to certain levels professionally, only to be able to do really good things with it when I get there.
I think you will, man. You have a whole nother phase of your life ahead of you. So
I hope so, dude.
You're still young, man. You're still cranking, and I have all the faith in the world for you, man. I can't wait to watch you just do magical things. I've already watched it, so you're amazing. All right, the last question. What do you want to do next? What's the next big thing on the list for life for you?
I would like to, I'd like to sell my companies and spend the rest of my life doing summer camp programs for special needs kids. If I could really make good money doing that, which you can't because it'd be nonprofit. So I need to make good money in my businesses, have enough to be able to fund me, the lifestyle I want to live, and all of these different programs. But camps is definitely something that is very close to my heart. I've watched the impact, not just on the children, but on the volunteers that attend. And the impact that we have is so great. I don't know. I mean, I want to travel. I want to see the world. I've seen some of the world. I want to see more of the world. But as far as like, if I could trade it all in right now, I would do that probably on a full-time basis.
I'm going to have to come to one of these camps with you, man, and see what that's about. I would love that.
Life-changing.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love to be able to help the kids, to participate, to do everything, man. And if it's something that we can work out, let's make it happen.
Well, we have programs. We have like mini camps every single month for kids with autism. And so we look for, about 50 kids. It's called Parents Night Out. We give the parents a night out and we take their kids. We take about 50 kids for 5 hours and we have like a mini camp. We sing and dance with them. They do arts and crafts. They play. We watch movies, and we could always use good volunteers to come and be a part of it all. So I'll be sending you an email.
I volunteered at a fundraising event that they had, the Opportunity Village had here in Vegas a few months ago at the Venetian, and they were awarding money to these kids that had just finished school. And I was so emotional, and I mean, probably the only man in there that was crying, that was volunteering. And I was just like, this is life, dude. And I see where you come from, because that is I have the goosebumps right now, is what it's about. There's so much more purpose to life than just going out and working every day and grocery shopping and things like that. Well, that's all fun and games, but giving back, man, like you said early on, giving back and contributing to the world around us is what will ultimately make you a fulfilled human being. My man. You killed it, buddy. I can't wait for this to come out. I'm hoping that everybody enjoyed this. You have any last words?
No last words. Thanks for having me, though.
You got it, buddy. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you guys on the next one.